All right, in this lesson we're going to take a look at a problem that is considerably tougher to factor than some of the things you've dealt with. And the reason it's tougher is the patterns are very difficult to see just with mental math. It's very difficult to recognize. In fact, what it takes is a lot of just trial and error. And then once you do some trial and error, you start to develop a feel for these, and you kind of can see where it's headed before you actually get there. Now, let's take a look at this trinomial here. What makes this different? Well, what makes this different than all the other ones is I have what's called a leading coefficient. And everything else you've practiced up till now, that's been a 1, which makes things really easy. Because if that's a 1, all we have to do is list out the factors of 2 and hope we get some that add up to 7. Now, as I just said that, some of you are thinking, that doesn't work here. Okay? There are no factors of 2 that add up to 7. It just doesn't exist. And you're right. They don't exist, but this 3 here is part of the process. It's involved. So we have to see how it's involved and how it impacts the result. What we're going to do is we see 3 terms here. So let's just set this up like we normally do. There's a trinomial, so let's see if we can do this. Okay. Now, what you have to do is start coming up with some options and just get something out in front of you to look at. And as you troubleshoot it and check your answer, you'll start to see how to manipulate things. So let's start with the 3x squared. Okay, what makes up 3x squared? What two things multiplied together could give us that? And the answer is simple. 3x times 1x. That's the only option I can do to get 3x squared. Okay, now let's take a little shift over and skip the middle term and look over here. Positive 2. Well, how can I get positive 2 in terms of multiplying two numbers? Well, 2 times 1 or negative 2 times negative 1. Those are the only options to get me 2. And I know you may be looking right now and saying, yeah, but none of those equals 7. I don't see where this is headed. Well, let's just pick something and try it out. Okay, so right now you can see that all of our values are positive. So let's just try all the positive numbers and see where it gets us. Now what I'm going to show you is how to adjust it once it's there. So I'm going to just put a 2 here and a 1 here, and I'm going to make them both positive. Now I'm looking at something that's factored. What I don't know is this correct or not? So here's how we check it. All right, we're going to go back and FOIL, and you can do this mentally or you can do it on paper. It helps to do it on paper at first until you get really used to it. 3x times x is 3x squared. 3x times 1 is 3x. 2 times x is 2x. And 2 times 1 is 2. Now when I put these together, 3x and 2x are like terms. They become 5x, positive 5x. And when I look up there, positive 5x is not what I was hoping for. So this is obviously incorrect. Okay, well let's try it again. And you don't always have to do this much trial and error. After you get accustomed to these, you start to do a lot of it mentally. 3x, 1x. We know we have to have that. And since I don't have a whole lot of other options here, I'm going to try to adjust the position of the 1 and the 2. Okay, maybe where they're placed is what the issue is. Okay, I'm not going to put any negatives in because I know I'm not looking for negatives in my answer. So since I had the 1 on the right and the 2 on the left, let me switch it up now. Let me put a 1 on the left and a 2 on the right. How do I know if that's true? Well, I'm going to have to FOIL it out and see what I get. This gives me 3x squared. This gives me positive 6x. That gives me positive 1x. And that gives me positive 2. So when I put together the like terms, I get 3x squared plus 7x plus 2, which is what I was looking for. So this one didn't work out, but I try one more option, and now I get what I want. So let's rewrite this in factored form. It's 3x plus 1 and x plus 2. So for the first time, you're not only going to have to worry about negative numbers and positive numbers, but you have to also worry about their position, because one of those numbers is going to get multiplied by 3 at some point, and that's what makes this little number over here kind of hard to recognize. It's hard to keep track mentally of what number is getting multiplied by 3 and what number isn't, and then when I add them together, I still got to get 7 as the total. So it takes a little practice, but I promise you the more you do this with trial and error, pretty soon you don't write any of this stuff down. You just do it kind of in your head, and you start putting it together mentally before you ever write anything on paper.